Yo, how's it going guys, Liffy here. I thought I'd make a bit of an in-depth rotation guide for Shadow as I only went over the basics in my overview video. This one's going to have a few do's and don'ts, a couple of tricks you may or may not know, and a rotation guide for both essence setups for the raid content. A Mythic Plus video will be linked to the end of this video, so check that one out too. On screen are the abilities I will be using in the core rotation. Like I said in my guide, it's not complex, it's about being consistent. So we'll go over the core rotation, and then I'll go over cooldown and essence usage. Majority of the time you'll start a boss with no insanity, so you want to start chunky and use a Shadow Word Void into a Pain, Shadow Word Void into a Vampiric Touch, and then Mind Flay twice until you get back into a Void Eruption. Then spam it until you hit Void Bolt, Mind Flay, and then Void Bolt, and then you go into 2 GCDs in between your Void Bolts. So it's a full Mind Flay channel, then Void Bolt, or a Shadow Word Void, half a Mind Flay, and then Void Bolt. So full Mind Flay, Void Bolt, Shadow Word Void, half a Flay, Void Bolt. You'll be clipping a lot of Mind Flays, but that's just the way the spec plays. But it's all about keeping 2 global cooldowns in between your Void Bolts, and that's just the basic. Something to bear in mind when you're running a Whispers trait is that when a Shadow Word Void crits you get extra insanity, so when that happens it means that you'll get 35 insanity rather than 15. That just means that you can get into form quicker, so bear in mind that if you do get a crit sooner, it means that you may not have to channel 2 full flays to get into a form, you may only have to channel 1, you may not have to channel any at all, then just go into the normal rotation. You see quite a few people talking about the Pre-eruption Opener still, so let's just cover that. There's 2 ways that you can go about doing this. You can either swap talents with tomes into Shadow Crash, waste 1 minute and 40, and eventually swap back into Auspicious Spirits. Or you can hope that you can pull sanity from the trash by mind searing an ally when you're over 60, when you've got Legacy of the Void, which you should be running. You'd mind sear an ally and that stops the drain as well. So when you open, when you've got a pre-full bar of insanity, is you'd have your timer, so let's show you. You'd pre-erupt, you'd put on 3, pre-erupt on 2, spam Void Bolt, then Shadow Word Void into Void, Pain, then Void Bolt, then Vampiric Touch into Void, then Void Bolt, then Mind Flay fully into a Void Bolt, then back into the 2 global cooldown rotation. So a Shadow Word Void into a Mind Flay into a Void Bolt, then a full Mind Flay, half a Mind Flay and Shadow Word Void, then a full Mind Flay, Shadow Word Void, half a Mind Flay, Void Bolt, just going back to the 2 GCDs and maintaining that cycle. The main issue with trying to pre-erupt is either keeping the sanity before a pull, because you're waiting around for people to juggle whatever jobs are going on the fight, or someone ninja pulls at like 1 or 2 and then it's completely wasted, it scuffs your complete opener and you set back down to 25 insanity, which isn't the worst thing, but it is fucking annoying. For AoE multi-target, swap Flay out for Mind Sear as a filler, make sure to keep your dots up and Void Bolt in between the sear to extend the dots. Use Mind Sear for 2 or more targets if you're not struggling for insanity and there isn't a prio target because it hits harder than Flay but less insanity back but lower target counts. When in Void form, make sure everything's dotted, Mind Sear as a filler and Void Bolt every 2 global cooldowns like single target. 2 to 5 targets, Shadow Word Void like normal, Mind Sear as a filler, Void Bolt on cooldown. 5 or more targets, drop the Shadow Word Void, just Mind Sear and Void Bolt on cooldown. His damage is pretty trash, but you are only using him for his insanity generation. It is handy because his damage makes you feel insane when you realise he's tickling the boss's bumhole rather than smashing it in. You've got 2 things to think about with this guy. What's the latest I can use him, and will I miss out on using him if I wait too long? The best times to pop Fiend, if you're not really sure how long the fight's going to be or if you're not that well geared, is between 19 and 22 stacks. When you get better gear or you're more comfortable with the rotation or procs from your traits or essences, you can keep him saved a bit longer and pop him a bit later on, as long as it doesn't cost you a use in the fight overall. A lower 19 stack Fiend twice in the fight is better than 128 stack Fiend if you fall out of form or miss a chance to use it again in the fight. When you're running CLF as a major, you want to pop it as early as possible when you've got Bloodlust. On a fight like Rathian, around 5 to 7 stacks is pretty decent if you can't fit it into a GCD gap before then. Then you just use it on cooldown. If you're not lusting, hold off a little bit, pop it around 15 stacks to help pump up your Void form. If you're running Condensed Life Force, always remember to pop Shadowfiend around 5 seconds after. He scales off of the haste CLF gives, so if you pop in CLF at 15 stacks, then you should pop Shadowfiend at about 20 stacks. As long as it doesn't cost you a global cooldown, you should be popping Void Bolt in. Now, Lucid Dreams can give you nightmares, especially if you miss time using it or you get cucked by mechanics after you've popped it. If you're lower geared or getting used to the rotation, the best time to pop Lucid is between 22 and 25 stacks. If you're comfortable and have the right gear and traits, you can pop it later, between 25 and 30 stacks without Bloodlust, and between 33 and 35 with Bloodlust. Lucid minor procs and whispered procs on your gear make a difference, so be better safe than sorry, and have a decent 45 stack void form than risk it late and wind up with a scuffed 35 stack form. Chorus does make a big difference, so getting this right makes a noticeable impact to your DPS. A few of these aren't necessarily tips and tricks, but there are a few things that you should really know. To save insanity, like I said before, from trash packs or resets on the boss pool, mine sear an ally that's not near anything that can't be put into combat to stop the drain. If you're targeted by mechanics in a fight and don't want to fall out of form, disperse to stop the drain for 6 seconds. You can pop Lucid whilst dispersed, which can save you from dropping out on some occasions. If you need to come out, you can hit a Void Bolt and it will chunk you straight back up to above 50 insanity, and then you can carry on your rotation. Power Word Shield generates insanity when in combat, so if you have to move, Power Word Shield for speed and insanity. Always be casting Power Word Shield or Shadow Word Pain or Void Bolt if you have to move, or if you need to or you're able to, disperse. Mass Dispel generates insanity, so offer to help dispel, be a helpful member of your team. It's a short cast, especially when you're in a form, about 1.2 seconds. Dispersion can be used to cheese a few things. For example, Il'gynoth Gaze, drop all of your black shit in one spot rather than spreading it around the room, save some space. Vampiric Embrace does do a fair bit of healing with no thought, and it generates insanity when you press the button initially, so help healers out when you can. Alright guys, that's the rotation. If there's anything else you want to know, hit me up in the comments below. Hopefully this helps you guys out. Like, sub, all that good stuff. Cheers for watching guys, take it easy. Peace!